Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Ashikil binti Nordin, and today I'm going to present on the introduction to fiat money and its implication. Okay, so after the usage of commodity money made from precious metals such as gold, silver, and copper, the usage of fiat money later became widely recognized across the globe as the main medium of exchange in transactions. There are lots of pros and cons to fiat money, and one of the advantages is its practicality in daily transaction, its low manufacturing costs, and banknotes can be printed in any amount according to the government. And the banknote can also be printed in the smallest amount such as 1 ringgit to the highest amount such as 100 ringgit. However, there are also disadvantages to fiat money such as its non-durability, and vulnerability to counterfeit money, and can cause inflation, and also fiat money can also be heavily affected by inflation. Okay, so now moving on to the research problems of fiat money. These research problems are based on the Mamluk dynasty, which is one of the pioneers of the money currency system, and it also a proof of failure of the system. So the main fundamental problem of the failure is that there is huge inflation in various sectors at the time. The huge inflation causes increase of prices in staple food, transportation, production, and many more. And this causes the people to starve and to be hungry to the point of death. Okay, so there are three main factors of the inflation at this time. So one of it is malignance in government administration. Malignance in government administration refers to the bribery of the public officers in order to get the position. So the people with money, they bribe their way into the position of government officials, and then it resulted in corruption in mentality and actions of the officials because they prioritize their own interests over the people. When they have the authority in the position, they can exploit the money to their own interest. So this causes various policies to be made not for the betterment of the society but for their own advantage. Okay, so this brings us to the second issue, which is the excessive tax increases, because the state budget is getting lesser day by day because of the misusage of the government officers. Okay, so the tax increment was forced upon the public, in which the public at the time was mostly farmers and also farmers, and they were heavily troubled by it. As the prices of production, agricultural costs increase, they can barely get profit, and then the tax increases too. So that causes them to grieve and to suffer more. So they refuse to farm, and they choose to leave their homes and to stop growing crops altogether. Okay, so the next issue is the rise of money currency circulation, which was caused by the officials who wanted to spend state money for personal interest. So the government officials who broke their own way, they push for the determination of money currency system because they can exploit and they can also control the money printing, the production of money. So when they produce a lot of money, the massive money printing has resulted in the inflation during the Mamluk era, which finally causes the extreme increase in prices of goods and services. So these three factors are what causes the system of money currency in Mamluk dynasty to fail. So we should make this as a reference, and so that it will not happen again to our country. So the research objective of this paper will be two. One, to study the concept of fiat money, and second is to analyze the implication of fiat money to social, economic, and political system. Okay, so the research questions will be: what is the concept of fiat money? And also, what are the advantages and weaknesses of fiat money? For the second objective, the research questions will be: how does fiat money impact the social system? How does fiat money impact the economy? And how does the fiat money impact the political system? Okay, so now we move on to the literature review. So there are many papers done by researchers in the topic. So I choose 4 of them, which I consider is significant to our presentation today. So the first one is from Shaman Jafar, Adam Abdullah, Ahmad Kamil, and also Maidin Mira. The title of the paper is Fiat Money from the current Islamic finance scholars' perspective. The paper's purpose is to discuss the opinions of the current Sharia scholars on the concept of debt money in the present-day fiat money system. The findings show that most of the scholars are not knowledgeable and unaware on the issue. And the suggestion they give is Sharia scholars should improve their understanding on the subject. And the next paper is entitled Money in the Modern Economy, an Introduction. It is a paper from the Bank of United Kingdom, written by Michael McLeay, Amar Radia, and Ryland Thomas. Its purpose is to explain on the introduction to the role of money in the modern economy, and the content comprises of various information on the topic, such as roles of money, different types of money, and how they are created, history of fiat money in England, and also recent development in payment and alternative currencies is also included. The next paper is by Ali Rama in 2013, entitled Monetary Dynamics and Commodity Money, a discussion in the context of a fiat money versus commodity money. So the purpose of the paper is to study the dynamic interaction between money supply and various macroeconomic variables, including output, inflation, stock market, and also interest rate. The findings show that there is significant interaction of money supply with real output, inflation, and stock market. But for commodity money, there is no causality effect in inflation and interest rate. So they conclude that using real money backed by a commodity will be more stable for the economy in the long run. However, these findings will be later disagreed by the paper Currency System and its impact on economic stability by the authors Desmadi Saharuddin and also Ali Rama in 2017. So the purpose of the paper is to analyze the relationship between the commodity money, which they use gold in the paper, and fiat money, which they refer to amount of money supply, with macroeconomic indicators such as inflation rate, economic growth, stock prices, unemployment, and also level of interest rate. So they found in the research is both commodity and fiat system do not vary significantly against each other in their influence on macroeconomic variables. So they conclude that commodity-based money is not exactly free of inflation. So they show that the two findings of these papers are different, but it shows that the latest one shows that both real money and also fiat money can be affected by inflation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi everyone, my name is Anis Adila binti Nur Azali and I will present on objective 1. Okay, so in this part I will explain the concept of fiat money, the application of fiat money in financial system, the scholar's view on fiat money, and the last one is the advantages and the weaknesses of fiat money. Okay, so let's move into the next slide. Okay, so what is paper money? Okay, paper money or fiat money is defined as a kind of money that is not supported by any commodities, even with the gold. So the example of fiat money is US dollar and the ringgit Malaysia that we are used now. So the concept of fiat money is different from gold and silver, where fiat money has no intrinsic value. It is managed by the legal tender through the government decree, and the value of currency is determined by the market forces. In other words, the forces of demand and supply determine its worth. So what is legal tender? Legal tender tu maksudnya sah diperakui nilainya. Maksudnya setiap negara yang menggunakan sistem wang fiat ni perlu ada legal tender oleh government untuk setiap negara tu. And the value fiat money tu pula ditentukan berdasarkan kepada keadaan dan kestabilan sesebuah negara, ekonomi sesebuah negara tersebut. Okay, next. Even though fiat money does not have any intrinsic value, but it is still accepted as a medium of exchange in markets because of its credibility, based on the legitimacy and stability of governments and the abilities of governments to limit the issuance of money. Okay, so we move on to the application of fiat money in the financial system. Okay, financial system in several countries is controlled by the authority of the monetary called the central bank. Okay, the central bank has the authority to print the money and organize the circulation to the stable value of money. Maksudnya, central bank ada authority diberikan oleh kerajaan untuk print money and uruskan circulation to stable value. This is because the main objective of central bank is to controlling the circulation of money and to maintain the stability of the value of money. So, central bank as a money supply must follow the rules. The rules include the addition or reduction of the money that must be based on the balance of the value of money. So, there's no surplus of money supply in economy. So, maksudnya kat sini, walaupun central bank tu ada authority untuk nak keluarkan money, tapi still bank kena follow rules ataupun guideline yang diberikan. Bank tak boleh nak hasilkan duit ataupun nak reduce pengeluaran duit tu sesuka hati, sebabnya untuk nak mengelakkan berlakunya masalah lebihan wang. Okay, faham? Okay, kalau macam tu kita move to the next slide. Okay, next, it is about the scholars' view on fiat money. Okay, the creation of fiat money has led to various different views of the scholars, where some of the Islamic scholars view that the creation of fiat money is similar to the debasement of money that is considered to be counterfeiting. The use of fiat money also has bring to many negative impacts on the resulting economy, especially in basic economics matters such as inflation. However, some of the contemporary scholars like Ahmad Zarqa, Yusuf Al-Qaradawi, Wahbah Zuhaili, and Muhammad Shibir argue that the current currency is a valuable property and it is legally owned and its use is allowed in Islam in its own right. Okay, the necessity of its use is based on the two reasons. Okay, the first one is there is no verse from Al-Quran and Hadith that obligates to make gold and silver as money. And the second one is there is no verse from Al-Quran and Hadith that denies the use of other than gold and silver as money. Okay, next. Akademi Fiqh Islam Antarabangsa OIC juga menyatakan bahawa berkenaan dengan hukum mata wang kertas fiat, ia adalah mata wang pada hukumnya kerana padanya terdapat sifat nilai harga yang lengkap. Dan oleh itu semua hukum makam yang ada pada emas dan perak jatuh kepada mata wang fiat, seperti hukum yang berkaitan dengan riba, zakat, lepas tu jual beli baik salam and seluruh hukum emas dan perak. So maksudnya kat sini fiat money tu adalah dibolehkan sebab fiat money tu ada value dia sendiri. Dia tak disandarkan dengan mana-mana komoditi ataupun gold and silver. And penggunaan fiat money tu juga is in line with Islamic law. So the necessity is based on the two reason yang tadi explainkan tadi, yang mana tak ada Al-Quran ataupun hadis yang mewajibkan penggunaan gold and silver sebagai money, dan tak ada juga Al-Quran ataupun hadis yang melarang penggunaan yang lain selain daripada emas dan perak selain sebagai mata wang. Okay, next, these are the advantages of fiat money. Okay, the first one is easy and practical in transaction. This is because fiat money is easy to carry, easy to keep. We can keep it in our pocket, our bag, our wallet, and so on. And it is also easy to make an exchange. The second one is low manufacturing cost. Since the process of fiat money ni dibuat daripada kertas, so it has a low cost production and can save the printing cost. The third one is can be broken down into any amount. Paper money also can be made in any manner according in the need of country. The next one is the source of income for the state. Okay, the state dapat banyak sangat profit daripada every printing of paper money, sebabnya kan kos untuk print duit tu adalah rendah kan. So that's why lah paper money ni adalah sebagai salah satu main source of income untuk negara. And the last one is adding and deducting can be done faster and easier because of the printing process is easy and cheap. So the addition and the reduction can be done quickly. Okay, next let's look into the weaknesses of fiat money. Okay, next these are the weaknesses of fiat money. Okay, fiat money is easily damaged physically. Since fiat money is made by paper, so it is easily faded, torn and burned. So paper money ni dia mudah koyak and dia mudah terbakar kalau macam terkena api, and dia pun boleh pudar kalau macam dia terkena air sebabnya dia ni dibuat pada kertas. So kat sini dia punya ketahanan fiat money ni adalah kurang lah berbanding dengan ada komoditi seperti gold and silver. The second one is paper currency can cause high inflation. The third one is legitimacy of paper money is fragile. So the value of paper money is influenced by the condition of the country. So kalau macam keadaan ekonomi suatu negara tu macam merundum, so nilai value fiat money tu pun boleh ter-effect sama. So maybe dia akan boleh jadi nilai dia jadi jatuh lah. And the last one is vulnerable to counterfeiting money. Okay, the printing process and the materials of paper money make a handful of irresponsible parties forge paper money. So sebabkan paper money tu dia punya printing process adalah mudah, so macam orang senang untuk palsukan fiat money ni lah. Okay, so that's all from me and let's move to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, under the social implications. Okay, the first one is individual. The effect of fiat money, especially on financial crisis, could lead to higher unemployment rate. In 2014, the unemployment rate drastically increased from 2.88% to 3.38% currently. This will cause stress to any individual which may lead to suicide. Sebab apa saya bagi tahu yang unemployment ni boleh menyebabkan suicide? Sebab ada satu berita tu yang berlaku dekat negara kita di mana seorang lelaki tersebut telah diberhentikan kerja daripada sebuah kilang. Jadi bila dia rasa macam tak puas hati dengan apa pihak kilang tersebut telah bagi kat dia, dia pun menceroboh masuk kilang tersebut dan melakukan beberapa kerosakan termasuk kebakaran. Selepas mangsa membuat kerosakan tersebut, orang awam mendapati bahawa mangsa keluar daripada kawasan kilang dan memandu secara bertentangan arah sehingga dilanggar oleh sebuah trailer. Second is society. Apa efek fiat money terhadap society adalah ia boleh menimbulkan social problem di kalangan masyarakat, di mana apabila masyarakat tak ada duit, diorang akan bertindak luar daripada kawalan. Contohnya orang tu boleh mencuri, dia boleh buat scam semata-mata sebab dia tak ada duit. Jadi ketiadaan fiat money tu memberi impak yang besar terhadap society, lagi-lagi kepada golongan yang bawahan. And lastly is country. Gaps between rich and poor become worse if fiat money is not under control. Poverty among the nations will increase because rich become richer while poor remain the same. Under the Sinar Harian Post, it says that poverty rate in Malaysia is at 5.6% in the year 2019, and meanwhile in the Jakarta Post, it is around 1.63 million Indonesian fell into poverty in March. Daripada petikan yang saya dapat daripada berita ni, kita boleh nampak yang fiat money ni dia menyeluruh. Tak kisahlah negara mana, tapi masing-masing akan ada isu pasal gaps between orang kaya dengan orang miskin. Jadi lagi-lagi masa ni seluruh negara tengah deal dengan pandemic crisis. Jadi isu pasal kemiskinan ni agak sukar untuk dibendung.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur binti Ismadi, and today I would like to present about fiat money and implications on the economic. So let's take a look to the next slide. So before I proceed, I would like to show to you the three implications that I will explain to you today, which are firstly the implication on losses through seigniorage, unfairness in economic activities, and lastly, decrease in the value of money. So let's proceed to our first impact, which is losses through seigniorage. So first of all, what is seigniorage? Okay, according to Investopedia, seigniorage is the economic cost of producing a currency within a given economy or country is lower than the actual exchange value, which generally accrues to the governments who mint the money. And according to William Hashwitter, seigniorage is the differences between the face value of a currency note and its marginal printing costs are almost equal to the face value of the note, where the marginal printing costs are effectively zero. So it can be concluded that seigniorage is profit earned by the government by producing fiat money. So contohnya penghasilan duit kertas oleh central bank atau kerajaan dengan kos pengeluaran yang sedikit untuk dapat untung dengan menghasilkan fiat money. So for example, if central bank produce $1 with the cost to produce is 30 cents, then the seigniorage earned by the central bank will be $9 and $70. So how seigniorage works? Okay, so according to European Central Bank, the central bank produces fiat money or banknotes and manufactures them at a printing plant and then stores them in the vault of the central bank of the country. And what is vault? Vault is peti besi. Okay, and then through the banks that pay the face value of the notes to the central bank, the deposited money makes its way to consumers. And then how bank pays central bank to get the printed money? Okay, so banks will typically need to borrow money from the central bank. To do this, or they pay by handing over some of their reserve, and the central bank generates interest or receive a return on the assets it acquires and receive on the capital it lends. And then the central bank earns interest on the money it lends or earns a profit on the properties it acquires from the bank just now, and that is what is called as seigniorage revenue. Okay, now let's take a look at the impact of seigniorage. Okay, so one of the principle of fiat money is the first recipient of the money profits will go to the first recipient, right? So which is the central bank, because seigniorage will go to the central bank as the first recipient. And then since fiat money is cheap to produce but carries with it purchasing power created out of thin air because it is not backed up by gold, which means the absence of valuable as backup. And then fiat money is cheaply produced purchasing power that is sought after by counterfeiters of money, which means bila fiat money ni mudah dihasilkan, pemasuk wang kertas akan senang keluarkan duit palsu untuk dapat sesuatu yang diorang nak. So ini akan ada imbalance dalam ekonomi yang akan merugikan pihak lain yang tertipu dengan wang kertas tu tadi. Okay, and then the fact that the right to create fiat money effectively puts the ownership of national resources and properties in the hands of bank is not recognized by many. This is because countries can lose through seigniorage if they allow the fiat money of another nation or notes issued by a private institution to be used as money in their land. So for example, if our central bank allowed other central bank in other country to produce our currency in their country, and then this will bring loss through seigniorage to our country. So for the second impact of fiat money in economic is unfairness in economic activities. Okay, so this is Bretton Woods system, where it was established during the period 1945 until 1972, and it advocated the adoption of an exchange standard that included gold and foreign exchange. So exactly, this system is an exchange of gold base, and the reserve currency country will aim to run a balance of payments (BOPS) deficit to supply reserve, and the system collapsed in the early 1970s, and fiat money system was introduced after that. So let's take a look to the next slide, which is the absence of intrinsic value of fiat money. Okay, so um, fiat money has no intrinsic value, which has no valuable backup as an exchange tool. This is unlike gold currency, because gold currency is based off gold material. And then the use of fiat money becomes a legal exchange tool through a law issued by a country stating the legality of the money. It means that legality of the money used based on law issued by a country. Even fiat money have no intrinsic value and only used as a medium of exchange. And then fiat money is accepted as a medium of payment because of the public's trust and confidence in the government, guaranteeing the authenticity. Um, this is because when the trust has been lost, then the value of the money will decrease and will no longer be accepted by the society. And lastly, fiat money can be considered as very weak, where it can be printed at anywhere without any limits. So because as unstable value of the fiat money, counterfeit of money can happen. And even central bank got the rights to produce the fiat money, because fiat money have the absence of intrinsic value that could ease the counterfeiters to print the money. Next, let's take a look at the impact of in absence of intrinsic value of the fiat money. So its impact that a party could gain profit unethically from the fiat money. How? How can be like that? Because as fiat money has no intrinsic value, so it can be destroyed and renewed at any time. And this happens through the replacement of real money with promise money, because surplus is earned by charging interest on borrowed fiat money, where it will lead to print more money as to get more profit from interest charge. And fiat money and the banking system are now a symbol of surplus creation institutions, namely interest or usury. So, for example, through lending and borrowing, where banking institution will charge interest to the borrower. So, as the result, it could bring injustice in economic activities, where the borrower, who is the customer, will be burdened to pay more than the actual amount of borrowed money because of the charge interest. And now let's take a look at the last impact of fiat money on economics, which is time value of money. Okay, so currency issuance is based on fiat money system is now very flexible and not limited through central banks, which is government. This is because where through fractional reserve banking system that have been adapted in some countries, including Malaysia, commercial banks can also produce the money. The elasticity of money causes the value of real money to be less realistic, and there is a surplus of supply, where value of money will decrease, and there will be surplus of money supply. Okay, and then If government decide to print out more fiat money wherever they want, it can lead to the subsequent oversupply of money resulting in inflation and decrease the value of money and the confusion of the real value system and the existence of unrealistic business such as currency trading and inflation problem. Okay. So, because bila flexibility to produce money wujud, this will lead to surplus of money supply and will decrease in the value of the money, and as the result, inflation will occur in the economy. Okay, now let's take a look at the relationship between inflation and time value of money. So, generally, inflation is known as rise in the general level of prices of goods and services in an economy over a period of time. And inflation can simply describe as a situation when prices of goods and services increase because there are surplus of money supply in an economy. For example, a glass of cold water can be bought today with Rm3, but the price might increase in the future when there is an event of inflation. And the impact of inflation has on the time value of money is that it decreases the value of money over time. And the money available to you today is worth more than the same amount of money at a future date. So, it can be concluded that inflation could affect the time value of money because once inflation happens, value of money in the future will not be the same as the value of money today. Okay, lastly, let's take a look on impact of inflation on time value of money. Okay, so the impact of inflation of time value of money is on time value of money, is investor will be afraid to invest in a country because they got no confidence to invest in country as the fall of the value of money. And this is because for investors, the time value of money is an important principle for investors since more then a dollar promised in the future is worth a dollar on hand today. And the economy of the country could be affected. This is where if there is surplus of money supply in an economy, it will lead to inflation and affect the time value of money. And at the same time, investors will be afraid to invest in a country because they got no confidence to invest in country as the time value of money was affected. So when there are no investors to invest in this country, it could affect the revenue of the country and bring loss. So I think that's all from me for today. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Afrina binti Aidil. So now we proceed to fiat money and implications in political system. Okay, now we start with the first political impacts of fiat money. Fiat money is the source of income for government. Fiat money allows government to print out money to an unlimited extent. The process of making a paper-based exchange tool has a low cost of production, so it can save printing costs. Fiat money is not a scarce or fixed resource like gold and silver. So as we all know that the fiat money is made from paper that has a very low cost of production, and also the resources are not limited. Okay, central banks have much greater control over its supply. For example, in Zimbabwe, in response to serious economic problems, the country's central bank began to print money. So if you look at the economy of Zimbabwe, they start to collapse in the late of 1990s, where the government was confronted with the opposition parties, and also massive army forces was sent to the Congo to help protect the mines and also peace of this country. So the government of Zimbabwe also launched a land reform program where they introduced agricultural and also manufacturing to the people that only barely knew about how to manage commercial farming. So government suffered loss, and also they do not have money to pay salary that caused the production drop and workers were fired. So as a result, the government needs to print more money in order to be spent on the development of the country and also to finance war. Okay, in Malaysia, the Central Bank of Malaysia is the sole authority to issue currency notes and coins. Notes and coins can only be printed or minted or under the authority of the Central Bank of Malaysia. Malaysian banknotes are printed overseas by reputable banknote printers. Bank Negara Malaysia are the one who have the full control in producing money in Malaysia. Okay, so as a conclusion, fiat money are the source of fiat money is a source of income for government in order for them to pay debt and salary of the government workers, to improve the facilities and also so on. Okay, now we're moving on to the second impact of fiat money in the political system, which is the monetary hegemony. So hegemony comes from the Greek word hegemonia, which means leadership and rule. The Cambridge Dictionary defines hegemony as the position of being the strongest and most powerful and therefore able to control others. So hegemony here means that one country has a power to control in terms of politics or economy or social or military, technology and so on over other country. So this country managed to dominate on the particular system of other country. Okay, so monetary hegemony is a single state has decisive influence over the functions of the international monetary system. If we now we focus on monetary hegemony. So monetary hegemony is when a country has a power and control in terms of their financial and also monetary system of other country. Okay, US dollar is the most widely used instrument in the international trading system and is stored officially in the form of an official foreign exchange reserve by a country. Okay, throughout the history, there have been numerous international currencies, but no fiat currency have been undisputedly more dominant than US dollar. So we can conclude here that US dollar are the strongest and the most powerful currency, fiat currency, and also used as an international currency reserve of the world. Okay, how did the US dollars become the major reserve currency of the world? So now let's have a look at how US dollars became the strongest and the most powerful currency in the world. Okay, first, for a long time, many developed countries tied their currencies to gold. So, however, during the First World War, many countries abandon their gold standard and start paying their military expenses using fiat money. However, US dollars, still tied to gold, overtook British pound to become the world's reserve currency. So Britain lost its monetary hegemonic status when they abandoned the gold standard. During the World War II, United States sold weapons and supplies to allies and collected its payment in gold. So as a result, in 1947, United States owned 70% of the world reserve gold. In 1944, the world's currencies fixed to the US dollar, which was in turn linked to gold. So a conference was held in Bretton Woods after many countries have been affected by excessive fluctuations of their currencies against the dollar due to majority of the gold reserve was owned by United States. So the other affected countries met in 1944, and then they made Bretton Woods Agreement to recover from this problem. So they decided that the world currency would depend on the US dollar and not gold. So this agreement has allowed other countries to return their currency with dollar and not in gold. Okay, due to the dollars were redeemed for gold, the US stockpile of gold is decreasing. Okay, since US dollars can be converted to gold, So their stockpiles of the gold is decreasing. In 1971, the US president delinked the dollar from gold. So during that year, the US president Richard Nixon shocked the world after he announced that gold is US dollars is no longer linked to gold, but it depends on the market force. And last, despite periods of market volatility and the inflation has followed, the US dollar has remained the world's reserve currency until today. Okay, US dollars in daily transactions. Okay, many merchants sell their goods for dollars rather than the local currency. So, for example, if we have a look, if we went to the countries such as Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, and so on, and then we want to pay for their goods in our currency, most of them will reject it because they said that they do not know the value of our currency, so they prefer we pay in US dollars. So because they do not want to take the currency risk. And then later, the trader will convert the US dollars into their currency. Okay, at ATMs in Cambodia, people can withdraw the greenback, which is the US dollars, from the machines. Savings and investments also in US dollars. So we conclude from the point 2 that US dollars is the currency that people love to use in trading, in investments, in credits, in loans, and so on, because of the stable of this currency due to the United States economic and political stability. So a strong US dollars will automatically raise import prices and reduce export prices in local currency. So if the value of the US dollar fall, as the number one currency in the world, it will affect on the decrease in the value of foreign exchange reserve of many countries. Okay, now the third impact of fiat money in political system is political instability. So politics represents an ability of the political leader to manage a country, where the leader must secure the people's interests, expectations, and preference for the comfortable life. So political leaders need to show their best ability as a representative of a country as a result of people's trust in them. Okay, extreme economic inequality caused by the fiat monetary system will damage trust and social unity, resulting in conflicts internally and globally. So this caused many people to resort to the opposition political parties. The economic collapse has driven many people to resort to the opposition political parties. So they are determined to change their leader and also their political parties with the hope that these parties can change and help them to solve their economic problems. Okay, for example of political instability or political turmoil has happened in Venezuela. So in 2013, the government is headed by Nicolas Maduro. So in 2016, he declared a state of emergency due to very high inflation rate. Due to Maduro's incompetence, the Venezuelan public's loss of faith in his ability to administer the economy. So in 2019, Nicolas Maduro took the position for a second 6-year term after winning an election. But the United States and more than 50 other countries do not accept his mandate as valid. Okay, so many economic problems have ruining the Venezuela for many years. So the uncontrolled printing of fiat money has caused their national currency, Bolivia, to depreciate and lost its value and let Venezuela down. So nowadays they use US dollar in their daily transaction. Okay, the country is afflicted by severe food and also medical shortage and a serious humanitarian crisis. So due to the severe economic problems, they are losing their trust in Maduro to rule the country. So many Venezuelans blame Nicolas Maduro and his government for the poor state of the country. So because of the poor state of the country, many Venezuelans migrate to Colombia, Brazil, Costa Rica, Mexico, US and others. So more than 4.6 million men, women and children have left Venezuela between 2016 until November 2019. So because of Venezuela leader cannot improve their economic condition of their country, so many Venezuela decided to migrate and to move to other country as they know that they can live better at the neighbor country. The last political impacts of fiat money is fiat money can hinder the development of a country. So criteria of a developed country such as Norway, Switzerland and Ireland, they fulfill all these 4 criteria. So the first one is gross domestic product, GDP. GDP is the monetary value of all finished goods and services that have been exchanged within a specific country at specific period. So GDP is normally used to measure the economic progress. So the high GDP shows that the economy is in solid shape and performing well. Okay, next is level of industrialization. Developed countries usually have high development in industries such as in manufacturing, in transportation, retailing, mining, and so on. Okay, next is technological infrastructure. These developed countries always keep up with the changing technology trends. They use technologies in their daily life, such as they use advanced machine advice in business, in retail, in manufacturing, production, and so on. Okay, the last one is Human Development Index, which is the level of education, literacy, and health are very high. They have a good standard of living. If we have a look at the all the countries that have been suffered with the hyperinflation due to fiat money, they cannot meet all of these 4 criteria because of the huge gap between the rich and poor, low competitiveness of the export and import competing sectors, social problems, low level of education and unemployment. So it can slow and hinder the nation's development of a country.
As a conclusion, fiat money is used nowadays as a medium of exchange, and it is proved to be a financial system which is better than the others. However, with the current development, a whole system of money now produces a financial and economic crisis, which in turn creates socio-economic issues such as the cycle of economic problems, unemployment, wide income disparities, and inflation. Therefore, a comprehensive efforts need to be made to find a fairer and more prosperous alternative to the society. So, that's all from us. So yeah, thank you.